Hey guys, it's Travis here, back for some more Hot Origins drafting action. And I think it might be tragically arrogant not to first pick Tragic Arrogance. Like, it's probably one of the better cards in the set, so I think we're definitely going with that. Other notable things in the pack are, I think Conclave Naturalist would be my next pick. I like that generally better than Rock Smallers, although they can certainly deliver a punch. There's just so many incidental artifacts and enchantments to blows up. Anointer of Champions is also quite good. I can't think of much that's better to play on turn one. Actually, I can't think of anything in this format that's better to play on turn one. Perhaps there is something and I'm just forgetting it. I guess your first Fairy Miscreant when you have 5 more in hand might be better, but Anointer's pretty darn good. It's always been good. And the power level of the pack drops off sharply from there. We've got a pretty good trick, mediocre trick, some nice card draw, a little bit of fixin', but I've not found fixin' to go deep here. This trick's kind of on the same level as Mighty Leap for me, and the Wyvern's cool if you're in the colors. But yeah, let's get arrogant. And we've got that into another interesting pack. I'm not super stoked on Dark Petition. Generally speaking, I found that I'd rather not search for the card unless I have a particularly powerful card to go a digging for. So that one's kind of ruled out. What I'm really looking at here is Chief of the Foundry, Sigiled Starfish, and Totem Guide Heartbeast. We already have an incentive to be white and stay white, and the Heartbeast can be a very interesting 2-for-1 if you manage to get some suppression bonds and or claustrophobias, depending on which direction you go. The Starfish has a nice upside in that it blocks early as well as scrying. It could be a very powerful card. That said, we'd be committing to blue. Like, we don't have to play the Tragic Arrogance. Like, if white's not open, white's not open. I think that's probably the best card in the pack, although there's also a Chief of the Foundry, which I like quite a bit. I think I'm going to go with Scryfish here. Maybe we end up white-blue. Maybe we end up just blue something else. We'll see. There's a Disciple of the Ring here. I've had the opportunity to play with and against this card a good bit. It's actually pretty darn good. You can't activate all of its abilities very often, meaning that your graveyard's not just chock full of stuff to do with it. That said, you don't have to. You can threaten to use it, and that can be enough to win a game. Like, your opponent has to leave mana up if they want to have blockers, because you could tap them. They can't block it with the 4/4 because you could pump it. That sort of thing. There's a strong colorless option in Foundry of the Consoles, and a Cruel Revival here may be a signal to us, along with Read the Bones number million, that blue-black is just the place to be. Certainly not opposed to that, but I'm going to grab the Disciple. I think it's a stronger card than most people give it credit for. Just because, again, you can't keep activating it, but you really only have to do it once. Okay, so it feels like the blue signal is on, and I'm just going to take it and ride. And we'll figure out what the other color is later. I love Gideon's Phalanx quite a bit. Watercourser is my favorite blue common, but let's get our Jesse and Teef action going here. If we can get some Disperses and some Separatist Void Mages, this starts to get actively good. Yeah, there's our Disperse. So I think I'm quite happy taking it here. I usually want at least one of these in a deck. And at this point, I'm going with the cut blue theme. Is it time? So, like, there's a safe pick here in the Ringwarden Owl. There's a slightly more conservative but equally safe pick in the Dargon Fodder, as it plays nicely with Disciple of the Ring and it gives us early blockers. This early in the deck, though, we might could just go for the whole Sphinx's Tutelage thing and see if we can make this happen. Oh, what the hell? I've been serious on the stream forever. Let's have a fun draft. Oh, no, there's a Possessed Scab. Whichever direction we go, we'll probably want that. I'm speculating a bit on the Toots. I don't know that we play it, but if the perfect deck comes together, that's great. If not, I can live with it. I'm certainly taking this over Bone to Ash. Yeah. Not a whole lot here for us except for Calculated Dismissal, which I actively dislike that card. But it could be playable. Miscreant number 1 may be worth picking up. We could go into some sort of weird aggro deck, I suppose. I'm certainly not going to want it over the barrier. And Macabre. Waltz can be okay, but I feel like I can get one of those later. Let's see if there's a miscreant thing. We'll kind of figure out what our next color is. Although this Read the Bones is making me think it might just be black. We could even consider the Dark Petition now that we've actually got stuff to go get, like Sphinx's Tutelage. Read the Bones is pretty good. Screeching Scab is pretty good. Plays nicely with this guy. I think I'm just going to... Oh, gosh, this is tough. I'm going to take the Screeching Scab, as you've got to have early interaction. But I kind of want that Read the Bones, too. Take a Bone to Ash here. I like that a good bit better than Calculated Dismissal. As generally speaking, that's not what you want to do here. I'll take Petition here, and we'll see if we rip something that would go nicely with. It's looking unlikely like we're going to be tragically arrogant, but it could still happen depending on what the next pack brings us. So this is not a bad start for a draft. Got a wonky kill condition, an actual kill condition, some value cards. Kind of just want Separatist Void Mages and we're good to go. Speaking of Separatist Void Mages, there's one. Stock up on a couple more 2-drops and make like a tempo-y deck. Also a Spider if we want to go big, Fleshy Bee, but Separatist Void Mage has just gone up and up for me the more I draft this format. It's really the card I was kind of most hoping to open, short of like a Jace or something like that. There's a possibility that white got cut so hard that way that we can actually capitalize on our neighbor's efforts and pick up some cool white cards here, but we'll see how it plays out. We could also conceivably just play blue-white and splash the Possessed Scab. Not opposed to that if we pick up a wild. It's like right now there's really no reason to play Dark Petition. There could be. Like it's possible we see some cards and it gets there, but yeah, this is not a pack for us at all. It has nothing at all actually that we're interested in. Not a single card. Wow. I guess Stratus Walk sort of goes with the Jessian Thief, but like second picking Stratus Walk is so horrible. It is the Stratus Walk of shame. Like we could consider speculating on a green card with Evolutionary Leap if we're going to go for Dirtle Enchantments the deck. We could also... God, even if you do get 3 Undead Servants, they still suck. And Seismic Elemental's probably going to kill us. That said, I guess it's better to take a card you're going to play. That's just a really terrible pack for us. Is there a chance we get to undo some days? Like, I guess it does mill them for a bazillion after you shuffle all their stuff back in. I think I'm just going to take Watercourser. I've already mentioned I love this card. It's another combo with Stratus Walk. Like, that will just kill people. Shadows of the Past is an enchantment I can get behind dirtling a little harder with, but I think I'm liking the Watercourser Separatist Void Mage plan. Like, these cards are things that we're probably not playing, but we'll see how it works out. We've got some fairly aggressive openings possible with this and just basically all the blue we could ever want. So here we've got basically stuff that's not super exciting. I mean, we could take this with the speculation that maybe we pick up some claustrophobias and it's a thing. We could take the relatively unexciting Eyeblight Assassin. As I think it's fairly likely that we're black. We could also take Weight of the Underworld. You can usually find a target for Eyeblight Assassin. It's just kind of mediocre. We don't really have any hard removal, so it may be okay just to take a Weight and be like, meh. It ain't great, but we kind of need it. Like, ideally, there'd be claustrophobia, and we'd just snap that up. We're going to need some number of dudes as well. I'm just going to take the Eyeblight. I like there's better black removal than that. And then there was a Knightly Valor, and we were white. It's also an Abbot of Carol Keep, which is a little unusual. Is that worth just taking and saying, screw it, okay, we're red? I don't think so. Because if I take the Knightly Valor, we're back in on being able to play Tragic Arrogance and maybe splashing for these scabs. Well, I think these two are gone. I'm going to take the scab and we'll see where this finishes out. There's something weird happening this draft. Maritime Guard is quite welcome in our deck. Where's Nick when you need him? We could be playing the Murder Investigation deck. I think I'd honestly rather have a Bonded Construct over the second Maritime Guard, although this does lock down a bunch of stuff. It's just not super... I guess we're not super aggressive bouncy dot deck. We're building up to a scene top end. Okay, sure. Guard me. Let's just hack a Majoring Bully as that's playable. And Yoked Ox, I suppose. We might even play something like that. So still not quite sure what our second color is. I'm going to prioritize like an Evolving Wilds pretty highly because Possessed Scabs are great. And being able to run Tragic Arrogance and or Knightly Valor is great. We're blue enough that we could potentially splash both of the other colors, but I don't think I could pull it off without a Wilds. So if we can get like an Evolving Wilds or maybe even a Meteorite. Like Meteorite's not going to enable the Eyeblight Assassin splash. I think we could ditch him pretty easily. But base blue, splashing Arrogance, Valor, and double Possessed Scab, I could get behind that. That almost seems like a real deck. Touch of Moonglove. Meh. Not my favorite card. We'll see what we open and maybe go from there. Still possibility we end up just straight blue-black, but we haven't, like, the black removal spells are the reason you go into black, and we don't actually have any of them. I wonder how our deck would have looked if we'd taken that Totem Guide Heartbeast a little earlier. Well, there's Chandra, and Papa's got bills to pay, so I think we got to take that over the Claustrophobia, which is probably the correct pick. But this pays for some portion of a draft. Well, it's not super exciting to watch people rare draft, but well, it's also exciting to an extent to open Planeswalkers. Missing out on a Claustrophobia, but I don't think that's that terrible. I suppose there is some chance that this makes it in, but it's exceptionally unlikely. Like when we're this heavy blue, we'd never be able to trigger her anyway. I'm just going to go ahead and put her to the sideboard. Topin Freeblade's not bad if we go the white route. Chief of the Foundry should be good with blue, but meh, it's okay. So Boggart Brute. I think I'm just going to take the Freeblade and probably move into a blue-white deck, potentially splashing these. Like, Stratus Walk isn't bad on this guy either. It gives us some potentially aggressive starts. Lets us play the Arrogance and the Knightly Valor. And we could still play the Toots for fun, which I don't particularly like, or the Calculated Dismissal if we just need a thing to play. And suddenly red. Like, we could take the Acolyte of the Inferno, bring Shandy back in. It's like, again, we're really unlikely to be able to flip her. I don't think this is where we go into red. I think this is where we just kind of stick to our guns and move along. This is a mediocre combat trick, but a combat trick nonetheless. Scrapskin Drake is probably something we'll play if we wheel it. Okay, so pretty strong signal that we should be in white, as this card is basically unbeatable. Kind of surprised to see it that late, but I'll take it. We're going to need to pick up a couple more dudes if we end up abandoning these scabs, which is looking likely since we don't have Fixin'. Void Mage number 2 looks great. I may just run a Vial over a Grasp of the Hieromancer, although it's kind of cute on the Freeblade and maybe on a Watercourser and the Thief. I guess that's high enough upside. Although there's a limit to how many non-creatures we can run, and it's looking like we're going to be too short. That said, take in the Suppression Bonds. I guess we could run Yoked Oxes if we have to. I'll move these guys over here for now. Weird. I felt for sure we were going into blue-black, and then this pack happened, and we're not. This deck's not bad. If we can pick up 3 mediocre 2-drops or 3-drops, Like, I'm not going to ask for a lot. A watercourse, a Charging Griffin looks fine. I'm going to say more watercoursers would be fantastic. Knight of the Pilgrim's Road is probably pretty good at filling out this slot, even though Charging Griffin is a little bit better on average. And Clash of Wheels would definitely be an upgrade to this Bone to Ash. This guy does play better with the Stratus Walk and gives us something to do at 3 mana. So I think I'd rather have the lower curve option there. And we even got a late Totem Guide Heartbeast to pick up our Knightly Valor or Suppression Bonds. Well, I'd say, or the Grasp. That really tied the deck up nicely. I think I'm more likely to want an Enlightened Ascetic in the board instead of a Negate, because if I want a counterspell, I mean, Negate is infinitely better than Calculated Dismissal, but I don't really have a way to deal with anybody's enchantments, and somebody's doing stupid things with enchantments. It's not really conceivable that I want a Deep Sea Terror. I'm just going to hack a Sigil of Valor. I just like this card, but its upside is enough that I've lost to it before. Alright. Not the draft I was expecting, but the draft I deserve. I think this is going to be our 23, but we'll look through the sideboard and see if we've got any other playables we should be considering here in just a moment. So the creature count looks about right to me. We don't have any super hard removal, but that's okay. We've got 1 Suppression Bonds, 1 Tragic Arrogance. I don't like running Counterspells main, but if I'm going to run one, this one has the most targets of any other in the set. It gets better with other instants, but we don't really have enough. Like, it sort of plays nicely with Turn to Frog and Disperse, but I'm not convinced to have something better. Other things we could consider here are Ye Old main deck Yoke Ox, which I don't hate. Avon Battle Priest is not a bad card. Some argument for Calculated Dismissal, although again, I really dislike this card. It's fairly easy to play around. I mean, I suppose in some cases it's better than Bone to Ash, but in some cases it's worse. We've got probably looking at 2-ish activations of our Disciple of the Ring, which generally speaking is enough. I don't think it'll be that hard for us to get Disperse and maybe a Bone to Ash or a Turn to Frog in the bin. You know, an Enshrouding Mist would have been a good pickup for this deck as well, because it's not looking super amazing for the Disciple, but that's alright. I feel like we've got a few ways to get the Thief in. Potentially, again, with the Stratus Walk, that's the Dream combo, or Hieromancer. Both of those play nicely with the Free Blade. Do you know Free Blade? And the Knigget of the Pilgrim's Road. Totem Guide Heartbeast has got plenty to search up. Yeah, I actually like this. I think I'm going to go 9-8 blue and call this a deck. Alright, cool. I will see you guys for round 1 in just a minute. Thank you for tuning in.